Yeah.
Tonight on the Boom Bap Chat, we welcome in Shortie No Mass. Hey, yo, Tell, yo, Io, let's get started.
Yeah. Let's get started. Indeed, I am MC Till.
I am the host with the most profound.
I am IB. I am Osmarad. What's happening, world?
What up? This is the Boom Bap Chat number 98. Welcome, everyone. It is sponsored unofficially by our good friends at Everybody's Records in Cincinnati, Ohio. Go see them. They have a great selection of vinyl, tapes, they have books, all kinds of great stuff, CDs. You know, I'm a CD head. If you can't check them out live in person, you know, we got the digital internets, the interwebs. So you can check them out there at everybodysrecords.com. Yo, guys, I know we're working on the book, we're working on music, but all week, man, I've been listening to Buhloone Mindstate. I've been listening to some Roots. I've been listening to this new project by Shortie No Mass. I got a lot of Shortie No Mass going on in the house right now, all week long, getting ready for and watching interviews, getting ready for tonight. So that's what I've been on lately. And Profound, what have you been on, man?
Trying to get my writings done for the book. No, yes. Man, but I mean, really that for real. And I've been really into this. I've been into that, the Midnight Marauders, the Tribe Called Quest Midnight Marauders and People's Instinctive Travels on Passive Rhythms. Like, yeah, man, I'm still on that. I was on that last week, but I'm still in it. So that's what I'm on. What you on over there, Io?
Man, spending time with family, man. My mom been in town, so just been really, spending time with my mother. Just been having some really good conversations about family and stuff like that. And yeah, man, been thinking about the last 2 articles I gotta write for the Native Tongues book. So yeah, that's all I've been on this week, man. Glad I ain't got no classes, no more homework. So nice. Man, I'm happy, man. I'm good. I'm in good space, man.
Good. Well, I know we're all in good space tonight with our guest in the building. I'm going to bring her on the screen and introduce her this evening. Our guest tonight jumped onto the scene through 2 legendary crews on 2 incredible albums. She has probably the most iconic ad-lib ever that would be go on to be quoted randomly by people to this day around the world. Her contribution to that album, Buhloone Mindstate, is one of hip-hop's finest supporting role acts ever, in my opinion. She's back on the musical scene with the recent project, has more in store. We're going to get into all of that right now. So please join me as we welcome to the Boom Bap Chat, Shortie No Mass. Yeah! Welcome. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So good to have you on here. As I said in the little intro piece, you know, that role that you played in Buhloone Mindstate, although it was short, you know, you didn't have a lot, like a bunch of verses all over the place. Mm-hmm. I feel like you took it already, the album would have been dope, but like, I feel like your presence just made it even more dope. Like the layer that you added to it, you know, it's just, I don't know, you just added something that was just so fresh. And I've been enjoying this album and your presence on that album for, you know, whatever, 20 something years now. So Absolutely. Thank you so much, you know, for your contribution to that album and your contribution to hip hop in general. So flowers and props to you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I don't want to, you know, that's in the past, right. But, you know, it's still very meaningful to a lot of us out there.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to start there. I heard in an interview where you said you were pretty much at every Buhloone Mindstate session, which kind of blew my mind. I was like, whoa, every session? That's crazy. So I'm curious to know, what was like your understanding of the Native Tongues at that point?
So I was a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, who wasn't, you know?
Right.
3 feet high and rising. But I mean, honestly, I was like maybe 14, 15. I was young, you know, then. So funny story, I remember totally had no business being there, but backstage, not after the show at the hotel, totally innocent, like just, you know, 14, 15-year-old running around. And we didn't know anyone. No one was trying to holler at us. We were babies. But I remember being on the elevator, literally riding up and down because, you know, I'm a baby. And De La Soul came on. And it was like, oh, I was a fan, like it was like, I was rhyming, but definitely not on a higher level, So, to actually like be around them to the extent that I was around them, 2 years later, was just nuts, so.
Yeah. And I heard that Paz, before he invited you to be on the album, he had not heard you spit.
Mm-mm.
So do you feel like it was just like camaraderie? Like there was just a vibe between you and the crew that made them feel secure enough to say, hey, you should get on this album?
It was really a vibe between me and Paz.
Okay.
When I first started kicking it with De La, it was me kicking it with Paz,
Yeah.
And it was just friends, but we would go to the movies, we would go to the mall. If they had like meetings or like an appearance or like they were going to a show, like I would just come along. It wasn't business at all. It was just hanging out, and I was just always there. I think that's what kind of lent me to being there for all the sessions. I was just always there, so I would just come up for Philly and I would just stay. But the way like the house was, it was like Paz and it was like the boys. It was like Paz and his brothers. It was Gracie. It was like Phife might be there sometimes. Like it was just a bunch of young people at the house, so everyone just hung out,
So. When I heard you say that you were at every session, I was like, man, I wish I could have been Shortie No Mass back then. just to be
I'm
at those
just sessions.
Like,
wow, I wish I was there, man.
Yeah,
that's dope.
It was like, I want to say part of it was summer, maybe. And then like we're going to the studio.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's go to the studio. But it was just like that a lot around that time. Obviously things are so different now digitally with Pro Tools and stuff. So everyone had to go to the studio because it was the same thing at D&D when I lived with the Beat Miners. I'd literally run it. I remember one time just running into the room and I needed to use the phone in the B room. And like I turned around and Jay-Z's just sitting there at the table. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, it's fine. Use the phone or, I missed that studio vibe where anybody could walk through the door, from moment to moment. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of anybody, did you have, what was your relationship like with Prince Paul?
Oh, we were cool. Prince was older. Paul was older than us. So, and he would come out on certain dates, but he wasn't like out on tour all the time. But Large Professor and Skep Anselm, they were on tour with us all the time. So.
Now, who exactly is Skep Anselm?
Oh, he's just a cool dude. He's a producer, so I think he was just there to be there. He wasn't a DJ or anything, but I know he was there all the time. So
I know he gets props too, but I never really knew exactly who.
He produced.
Yeah.
On Tribe's album.
Cool. I got a few more specific questions, but Moss, Profane, anything so far you want to ask about?
Man, I'm still trying to get over this. She was at this every session, man. Like, I just can't imagine. I'm like you, Till. My one question is, especially since you're still releasing music today, can you speak about what that influence of being around all of those guys then, how that in turn, how you use that energy today, or if you still use that energy today when you're putting out music?
Well, I guess, if you're gonna rhyme, you're gonna rhyme, right?
Right.
I don't think I necessarily, I don't know. I started initially immediately rhyming in booths. So, that was just normal to me. To be truthful, I was kind of spoiled in this industry to have come in at such an early age, and I'm with De La recording at Battery and Electric Lady, and then I'm in the studio with the Roots, and so I never really had that early, that grind, in like somebody's basement where, I didn't have that, so I was a little spoiled that way. Being at every session isn't all that is glamorous that is as is because first of all, schedule wise, they did a lot of overnights. I mean, we would go in the studio and the sun would be up, and then it would be night, and then we would wake up and leave, and the sun would be up, and it would be morning.
Wow.
So what I remember of it is a lot of sleeping on the couch, you know, and like if you see me be over here, you know, ordering good takeout, and you know, the good thing, you know, the Roots, living in Philly, I wasn't at a lot of their sessions like that. And I lived with the Roots. I lived with Amir for like a few months because we had the same management. Mm-hmm. It was like a house with Jazzy Fat Nasties and Amir, Questlove. But I never went to the Roots sessions like that. You know, maybe because I was in Philly and I had options. I'm going to go to hang out with my girlfriends. Or I'm going to go here or there. Whereas De La, I was with them. I wasn't going to like explore New York by myself at 16, you know, so, but it was a lot of sleeping on couches.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's dope.
Yeah. I'll Mas, anything?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Like, Philly is one of my favorite cities in the world. So
Really?
first time I went to Philly, I was like, yeah, I fell in love with so I was wondering, what side of Philly are you from?
Like North
Philly. Okay. So like, what is, like, I know how Chicago helped me develop into the person I am. How would you say Philly helped you develop into the woman that you are today? Like, what is it about Philly that, or do you feel like Philly played a huge part in your development, both as a person and as an artist as well?
To be honest, Philly is a bunch of crabs in a barrel. It still is.
Okay.
You know, no one wants to see anyone else shine in Philly. If you look at my career, everything I ever did and the people who put me on were in New York. You know, the only reason I was even on the Roots album was we had the same management, and I was Shortie No Mass from De La. So the Roots were coming out, and it was like, oh shit, let's get Shorty from De La on our album. You know, but you never saw me do anything else with the Roots again, and I lived with Roots. You know what I mean? So, go figure, you know. But every opportunity I ever had, I had to leave Philly to.
Wow.
Yeah. You know,
sound like Chicago.
It's just I don't know. I mean, it's but it's like that in every, you know, field. You know what I mean? Like, just people in Philly just aren't collective as a whole.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow, sound like Chicago.
I feel like a lot of urban cities, you know, I think it's a cultural thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know,
So I mean, for me, Buhloone Mindstate is like one of my favorite albums, and like Till said, you are a huge reason why that is. Just your presence and like your ad libs, even like when you say, yeah, don't say that again. Like all those like little ad libs like that. Like
it was crazy because like on I Am I Bid, you know, was just go in and do it a bunch of times and we'll take the best one.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I'm like, you used all of them.
I wanted to ask you about that. Do you know why they did that? Was it just them being them? Like, oh, that sounds dope. Keep it.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
You know,
I know there was some sort of deep meaning behind the
well, they do have a lot of deep meanings. That's why you never know.
Yeah. And I didn't realize till recently. I mean, I'm sure I read the line. I know Chip Fu was on there, but I'm not sure what he actually says on there. But were you in there when Chip Fu was in there? No. I'm a big Chip Fu.
I don't know. You have to understand too. I was a senior in high school when I recorded that album.
Oh
wow.
So I was in the beginning, I was trying to juggle that, but I was at a new school and I didn't know anyone. So it's not like I had my friends and people. So I just straight went to the guidance counselor and I was like, check this out. I ain't coming back.
Wow.
I'm busy. You know, I can't keep going to New York, coming back, and then the school was far from my house too. It was like 40 minutes to get there. I just was like throw me a bone. So they ended up, it was like around the third marking period. They sent all my stuff home. All the teachers for all my classes sent everything home. I had to turn it in by the end of the marking period, and then they sent me my diploma at home.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Friends, so I didn't really care about prom and going on tour. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're going on tour with De La Soul.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm good. So
yeah, that's cool. So on that song, I wanted to ask you about this. I've heard in interviews where you essentially said that like native tongues wasn't like really a thing at the time when you were recording Buhloone Mindstate, right? So do you remember hearing Paz's verse for IMIB?
no, but no, you can enlighten me.
No, just because he kind of gets into it. Like he talks about,
Yeah,
I almost can
so
quote
let
it,
me
I'm
say
sure.
that. I don't know specifics, but I know it was not a thing. And it was very, very adamantly, it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
So that's all I know, you know. And I obviously didn't ask questions. I was so young back then, you know, but I just know it was like, we're not.
Right.
Oh,
but they were still
we were still
hanging
cool
out.
Everybody. Yeah, we were still, you know, like Africa and like, you know, everybody would be around, you know, everyone, Latifah, everybody would still be around each other. So it wasn't like it was beef. Well, let me say that. I don't think it was like, it wasn't like public, like FU beef. No.
Right.
I think it was just some personalities.
Yeah.
Or, you know, button heads.
From the outside looking in and giving lots of time, I've always, like in recent years, I thought, you know, what happened was you had like all these different groups with huge success, tours, all this limelight and stuff, and an industry that's not very cohesive, not very, you know, nice sometimes. And but these were good dudes, and so they weren't like at each other's throats, but at the same time, they couldn't really be that same, like, you know, just fun, getting together, making music crew like they were, you know, before, because of all this, you know, being in the midst of all the corruption of the industry and all the nonsense, but they were still cool because they were just good dudes. That was kind of that's my perception.
So from what I know now as an adult and hearing stories, and what I know factually, you have a lot of very strong personalities amongst the group in native tongues, and everybody's there. You have a lot of stars. Hip hop, when native tongues first started, is here, and people don't even think hip hop's gonna last or be a thing. And then you have some groups who get to a commercial success level that some others didn't, and that creates some animosity, and you know, so if you think you're a star and I think I'm a star and I think we're equal, and 89 hip hop is not 92 hip hop, you know, 89 hip hop is dope and you go do shows and you make money. 92 hip hop is like, you know, Sprite commercial money. You know,
facts.
You know, and so I think there were some feelings about opportunities, money, level of success that other,
totally. That makes sense.
And I don't think, again, that's not anyone's fault. That's just where hip hop was at different stages of. I mean, look at it now. You could be part of Native Tongues in 2022 and get, you know, $110,000 for a show if you're hot. You know, that was unheard of, you know, back then. So times change, and so I don't think it was anybody's fault. I think it was just different eras of hip hop and opportunity.
Yeah. And people probably just trying to figure it all out and being human in the midst.
People also being, you know, feeling left out or jealous, or, you know, there's just human emotion that also plays into that. You know?
Right. Yeah, definitely. So then fast forwarding to Stakes is High. Do you remember the verse that Pa spit about the native tongues being officially reinstated? Do you remember hearing this? Because I was curious to know what you thought, you know, Pa's basically, this was 96 now on Stakes is High. And he has this line where he says, the native tongues has officially been
reinstated. Yeah.
I remember hearing that thinking, I didn't know they were, you know, I didn't know they broke up, but yes, they're back. You know?
And at that point, who's native tongues? Are you people 91 prior and you're forgetting about everyone else? I don't know. I think Black Sheep is an official member, but you know, even Mos Def was kind of came out with De La early. You know what I mean? So who at that point is then native tongue or not native tongue? I know I've always been referred to as a native tongue affiliate. You know what I mean? So I don't know. To me.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the fans, we argue and debate.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, I love it too. But at the end of the day, it seems like the native tongues weren't like, let's get together, let's get out the pad and pen, hear let's state who is a native tongue member, who is not a native tongue member. It was just, dope people making dope music and just kind of, riding on the same vibe.
Listen, I feel the same way. And I was like, and listen, I talk to Moni all the time, like, me and Latifah are cool. Like, everyone knows each other and is cool. So I said to Love the other, I was like, it'd be so dope if it was a native tongue tour. I was like, do you know how much money we need, But when you got people asking for astronomical amounts of money because they feel like they're shit,
wow.
I don't know how that works.
It would be dope. I don't either.
It would be so dope. Wouldn't it be dope?
Yeah, man, that would be crazy.
It would be nuts. It would even be nuts if you did like a festival and then like all the opening alcoholics and 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 Mos Def and Talib and Common and all
Far Side and
listen,
all
somebody
of that.
Somebody would have to have a large bankroll.
Well, speaking of large bankroll, I don't have that. However, when De La Soul crowdsourced their last album, they raised over $500,000 relatively quickly. $500,000. Now I don't know how far that goes, but the thought I had was, because I really like a tour would be dope for sure. I would love a Native Tongues album. So I thought, you know what? Somebody out there that has the connections should just figure out who the person is that can get verses from all the Native Tongues members, and then just crowdsource that sucker, and then just pay all the artists whatever they charge for a verse or whatever, or studio time, and just pay for the whole thing. I'm telling you, I bet you could crowdsource a Native Tongues album, because you know how many people are out there that just love the Native Tongues and would just love to give $10, $20 to
before,
Yeah.
So,
But I think that would take for me as a fan of Native Tongues, I feel like that would take away from the aesthetic of, you know what I'm saying? Like, do the funding part, but I would want to like see Shortie No Mass, like Q-Tip, Moni Love in the studio, like, like the old days, like, you know what I'm saying? Like building and just like that music, because that music came out organically.
Sorry, you're making a great point, because a lot of that did happen because you just happened to be in the studio. Like my zzz on New York More on the rooftop was really just because I was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gotta get Shorty for the zzz. You know what I mean? How many artists were like, oh, so-and-so's working in Studio B, and it's like, I'll hop on a verse, or so you're absolutely right, because you know what would happen? You would have this song and everybody would record it somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you wouldn't get that vibe.
Yep.
You wouldn't get that We Are the World vibe where
exactly. And I felt like that was the magic of y'all music, not only like individually, like Tribe doing their own thing, but how like the groups like Cross did things, like you would hear Dave on doing a chorus for a war tour. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I mean.
On Buhloone Mindstate, I don't know how much of them were planned, or it was just, to be dope. Shorty, come here.
Right.
So if we were in this digital age, I don't know how much would be done,
See, I would like the funding to source a spot somewhere in a remote location, and all of y'all just you had together, cooking together, back sleeping on the couch again, and just cooking, just working. You know what I'm saying?
But here you just named it, sleeping on the couch again. Some niggas ain't sleeping on the couch. They would have, and that magic of what made you fall in love with Native Tongues in the first place is that realness, on the couch and just want to give your best because you're new and this is not, now it's like I'm a star. I need a sweet.
Yeah. And that's I'm sorry, Till.
I mean, but I mean,
That's the one thing I loved about all of you. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I was going to say people go up and they're, exposed to different things, and then you have a different income bracket, and you're like, I'm not staying at the Motel 6. I'm staying over here. And, then you have different levels of, what I'll do and what I won't do,
Yeah.
So that's what, I'll tell you what Swizz beats, and who does verses with Swizz? The name is...
I think it's, what's his name?
Timbaland.
Yeah, Timbaland. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Have those guys. We'll get them on the podcast next week. We'll talk to those guys, and we'll just look. They got the money to do it. Just pause verses for a minute and just do a Native Tongues month. You just get the whole crew together and pay whatever you need to pay them. Crowdsource the rest. So
okay.
there you go. Shorty's like, nah, it's not happening. But there's the thing, like as a fan, you can hold on to some hope. Maybe.
Yeah, and listen, I'm a fan too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would love it. I said, I think a show would be just nuts. But
I think so too.
A girl can dream. A fan can dream. Right?
A fan can dream. That's right. All right. Listen, we do want to get into your new music. Profound Almas. Any last minute questions about the music of the past?
Man, I got so many questions, but we can go to the next segment.
And we do.
I got so many questions.
Just for our listeners, we do have an interview with Shortie No Mass that our guy Jay Hill did not too long ago. That's going to be in our book. So there's some great insights there that you all will get with the Native Tongues Review book. All right, so we'll do this little fun round before we get to the new music. It's just this or that, and you can say both. So I'll just throw out two different things at you, and you tell us which one you prefer. And if you can't figure it out, you can always say both. All right, here we go. First one, house with a yard or a condo and no yard?
Is the house in the city? Sorry.
It's the house. It's not I
would take an urban house in the city with a yard. But if the house is in the suburbs, you can give me the condo and no yard.
Okay. All right. Cool. I got you. All right. Next one here. A vegan veggie wrap or homemade pizza?
Vegan veggie wrap.
Okay, right on. And a bonus, does pineapple belong on pizza?
No, man. What's wrong with you too?
You said no? Okay, all right, okay.
That's all right. Now cipher, bro.
All right.
My OCD will go nuts.
Simple space. So I was gonna say simple space or like lots of stuff, like nice stuff, pictures on the wall. Okay, so you like the simplicity. All right. We got a few easy ones out of the way. This is probably the hardest decision you'll ever make in your life. Midnight Marauders or Low End Theory, and you have to get this right.
Midnight Marauders, because I was on tour with that.
Okay. All right.
It was easy for me.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Next one, going out or staying in?
Staying in.
Staying in. Okay. The last one, you can expand on this one. If you could own a spot, a house, a condo, any property, anywhere in the world, where would you own it and what would you do with it?
It would be in Canada. It would be a lake house. It would be acreage. It would be self-sufficient. I would have goats, chickens, and some other animals, but it would be like, leave me alone, and you might not see me for 10 years, and I would be straight. And lots of guns.
That's dope. Okay.
Like what? What was the last part?
She said biscuits, bro. Lots of guns, bro. You know,
about straps.
Yo.
Straps, bro.
That reminds me. I think it was you that said that you have a lot of conspiracy theories.
Oh, I do.
Oh, can you share one of the most outlandish conspiracy theories that you
see? But I don't think my theories are conspiracy. I think it's just
real. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Not conspiracy. I think slavery still exists. I think it's just changed the name, and I don't think it's black or white anymore. I think it's poor, rich and poor. Like they're okay with enslaving poor white people too. I think that I'm the prepper too. So that's why I like the whole conspiracy theory. Like prior to COVID and prior to like shit hitting the fan, I was the one that was like, oh, we need to do this. Oh, I'm telling y'all, we need to get that island somewhere, and we need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do this. And then when COVID was like creeping up, it was like, oh shit, you were right. I was like, I'm trying to tell you. So yeah.
That's dope.
No doubt. I love hearing you talk about I think it was Forks Over Knives, the documentary, Forks Over Knives, and just the vegan lifestyle. Because I mean,
I think living in America too, this, again, I don't think it's a conspiracy theory because I live it. Like just the fact that we don't have free healthcare, we're the only developed nation that doesn't have free healthcare. I think it's in their interest to poison our food because then they need us to be sick, because if we're not sick, then we can't keep the health insurance companies and these big, huge medical systems.
Exactly.
So if you look in other countries, they'll ban things that they put in our food here freely because they foot the bill. So they don't want you to be sick, because if you're sick, it's going to be more money they got to pay. So here, they need you to be sick.
Yeah,
exactly. Like when I first moved to Canada, my wife is Canadian. She's Canadian Caribbean, and she was like,
"Congratulations, you get to
and it was a no brainer because she was thinking about moving to Chicago, and I was like, nah, like I want to come there. I want to try something different because I was kind of tired of what's going on in Chicago with the shootings and stuff. I was like, that was just getting too close. Yeah. And so when I first got there, my wife was like, yo, we got to take this run real quick. And I went to go get a health card. And she was like, everybody is like, when you become like, even if you're not a citizen, because I'm a permanent resident. Okay. And as a permanent resident, I get a health card. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I was just like, yo, that's crazy. Like, in order to get a health card in Chicago, you got to have employment. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have employment, then you don't have health care. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like amazed at that, just something that small. I was like, wow, everybody is entitled to health care? She was like, yeah.
So Subway was putting like yoga mat material in the bread in America. And they stopped it, but they were. You can Google it. Like it was, facts. But this was, so it was like more of a preservative kind of thing for the bread. In other countries, it was banned. So why is it okay for us to eat?
Yeah, exactly.
My son has, severe food allergies. He's allergic to anaphylaxis to eggs. So like growing up, EpiPen, if you don't have health insurance, that's like $400. Yeah, it's not $400. It costs like $5 for you to make it. And if you go to another country, it's like $30, $20, Insulin. People need insulin to live, and they can't afford it, So it's just it's all BS. So again, I go back to, they need you to be sick, because how are Blue Cross Blue Shield and all these places, how are they gonna make money? And they pay because they lobby, so they're putting money in these politicians' pockets. So
I mean, a good documentary to watch is sick.
Are those conspiracy theories?
Those are not conspiracy. I don't consider that. That's truth.
Yeah, actual fact.
Right. So,
that's actual fact. You know what I'm saying?
Like really into the world I live in, and I'm super disappointed in our country. I think that we're literally we potentially could be like watching the fall of the American civilization. And people think that sounds crazy, right? But if you look at like Roman, if you were to go to Greece right now and see Colosseum, these major temples that are crumbling, I bet you the Romans never thought they shit was going to end either.
Exactly.
So at some point, Egypt, it's a tourist attraction. You think the Egyptian pharaohs thought that it was ever going to end?
Right.
No. So things, big civilizations end,
Right.
I don't know, what do we look like in 50 to 100 years with everything that's going on? And listen, I'm all about capitalism. Make your money if you want to grind out. But if you don't want to grind out, and I'm okay also with paying, a fair share for the people who can't work, as hard as I'm going to hustle. So
yeah.
And even like the educational system in America is different. Like educational system here is very affordable compared to the education in the States. Like if you want to, go to higher, post secondary or whatever, you don't have to like sell your soul or like be forever in debt in order to be educated, because they feel like an educated society is a healthier society. You know what I'm saying? So even in that aspect, like I feel like America, I agree 100% with everything
Look
you
at all
said.
the kids
like,
in inner city public schools that didn't have laptops prior to the pandemic.
Exactly.
And everyone said it's because they can't afford it, even though technology is the future and you need
Right.
to
Yes.
coding, robotics, and everything else to
Exactly.
survive the future. Everyone said you can't afford it. When you needed them damn kids to go back to school, you found the money to give every single kid in America a laptop.
Yeah.
Why? You could. That means you could have did it. You just didn't.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Same with healthcare. We could do it.
Yeah.
100%.
Easy.
We're not easy. Ukraine. Not that Ukraine doesn't need help, but we could do it if we wanted.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, thank you for that. Those are not conspiracies, man.
Yeah,
it's actual fact for real. Yeah, that's real.
Also actual fact is your new music we want to jump into. You recently said something that I was like, man, this is so dope. You said, if you're still asking for an album after 20 years, I owe it to you.
Yeah, this was for the fans. It wasn't for me. I care less.
And that's really dope because like as a fan of your work, it's like you don't have to do that. You don't owe me anything, but the fact that you're like, no, this guy and all these fans, like they still want it after 20 years. I'm gonna give it to them.
Y'all, I owe it to you.
Yeah, I think that's so dope.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a perfect time. It was the pandemic. I was home. It was obviously things are easier now to, record and, do what you got to do without a studio. But yeah, I was like, here goes nothing. Right.
Here goes nothing.
Yeah, that's why the album is called that. And so it was that, and it was also my son was starting to get into music. Yeah. And I wanted to give him the opportunity to kind of experience the process and the same things I got to experience when I was young.
Yeah, definitely. And I know. Oh, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to give that to him.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And I know that part of it, what I've heard is that the single and the B-side you put out, years ago, like had a resurgence. And my man Hector said, I was just bumping like this the other day, straight gem, salute queen. So shout out to Hector.
Thank you, Hector. And yeah, so I think people were in the house. I think it was time to rediscover music. Somebody had put out that single, it was all in one on YouTube. And I think it's been out it's been a YouTube thing for 14 years, but it was only at 2 million. Well, let me tell you, over the last 3 years, is over 10 million. During the pandemic, I think I know I got caught up into an algorithm on YouTube where YouTube was promoting the shit out of me. So YouTube was behind me. So, and it was people who were like, I mean, literally, if I read the comments, it's like, I had never heard of you and I was about to press skip and my finger slipped, but then I let it play and I was like, oh shit, what's this? It was people who didn't even know I was on De La Soul's album. So that was another part of me feeling confident about putting the album out, because I was like, well, it's 17 and 21-year-olds who had never heard of me before and they want more. Yeah. So what's the difference if I was a new artist? I have my fan base, but I also have new people that are checking for me. So I was like, okay. And we sold out the album. So
that's
dope. That's so dope.
And the album Here Goes Nothing, obviously you can stream it all over the place. Do you have any more vinyl, or is that what you sold out of?
Yeah, no, it's gone.
Gone. Wow. Did you press it on CD or just vinyl?
Just vinyl.
Just vinyl. Okay.
That's dope.
Yeah, that is super
dope. Sold out, and then they were like, well, let's do it again. And I was like, okay.
How many did you press up, if you don't mind me asking?
Not too many. It was only 300.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, but it's still dope.
Can I ask you, why did you make that decision? I love that approach.
That's the label. That's what they do.
Okay.
And they're in Germany, so they have from what I understand, what I've learned, pressing vinyl in America is hard because a lot of these companies that used to press vinyl, they shut down. It's just not really a thing anymore. And the few companies that do press vinyl, you can do it. It's just going to take forever.
Yes.
It's not going to be. So I think with vinyl digital, they're constantly pressing vinyl. So they are a good customer, and plus they're in Germany, you know what I mean? So but they're churning out vinyl all the time.
I just think it makes the art. I just think it makes the art more like art. You know what I mean? Like it makes it more like a collector's item, if you will. Like, you know what I mean? And once it's gone, it's gone. Like, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say some people the sound is different too. So some people
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, that's dope.
So the project is Here Goes Nothing. If you're tuning in and you've not heard this project, go listen to this project. It's super dope. It has production from the Beat Miners, which I was very happy to see. They're one of my favorite producer duos ever. Has production on there from J Zone, which is super dope. DJ
doesn't do production anymore.
That's right. Do you know why? I remember seeing a headline about this, but I don't.
He's just into he has a group and he's into his drumming and I don't know. Yeah. He's so dope. Yeah. I recorded those songs in 2007 too. They weren't even new.
That's amazing to me. They sound fresh. They sound really fresh.
They were always different though. To me, they were always a little ahead of their time. So.
Yeah. And it also features production from Shortie No Mass's son, J Law, which is super dope.
Nice.
Yeah. That's really cool that you had him featured on there.
Yes, so he's working on the next album.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about that. So the next album, so you're working on another album.
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you say it like that?
Yeah, is this a hard process for you?
So writing this first of all, they asked me for an album and I was like, I can do an EP. I don't know if I can do an album. So I could definitely write 5 or 6 songs. That's easy. It turned into an album because like I said, I had all this stuff from 2007 that I hadn't used yet. Hold on one second.
Yeah. No the dog got out or something.
That I hadn't used yet. So I was like, oh, well, I have all this stuff I haven't used. So I might as well just use this for, make an album.
Yeah.
That was easy. So now the idea of doing an album, and it was the pandemic. So I didn't have anything else to do. I had no distractions. Now I'm busy. So I'm like, so now I'm just juggling a lot, so luck has given, and Luck's just, I don't know what's going on with him. Like his beats have been nuts lately, like so dope. And I hate holding up people's beats, so sometimes I might love something, but if I don't know if I'm going to write to it right away, I'm not going to be like, I want that, because you could give it to somebody else and make money, So I have these beats that I have, they are mine. And I have to write to them, but I'm like, I got that guy. I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I'm trying to knock a few things off of my plate, and I think I'm just gonna sit down. I'm gonna take a week, and I'm just gonna knock stuff out. I did start, so I was in the studio last week. Okay. So I did a song for Luck for another girl, which Pos is on it. So it's the first time you'll hear Shortie No Mass and Pos since Buhloone Mindstate. Yeah. And
nice.
While we were there, I at least put all the music that I had so far. We at least, it's in the studio. It's there. It's it stems and everything. And I did record a few verses. So I just have to go and just knock it out.
You can do it. Will there be, so for those tuning in that don't know, J Law has beats on it. Yeah, yes. The new album.
So it's it's J Law and Luck. I don't want a lot. To keep it.
Staying focused. And for those that don't know, Luck is Posthumous' brother. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we, it's crazy. My real estate investment firm, he's my partner. And
dope.
Wow. We have a lot going on.
Yeah.
But the label wants me to work with some of their producers out of Germany, which they're dope. They're like a lo-fi kind of vibe, which I think is good for the You Like My Style fans, and so I think so. I'll throw a few of those in there too.
Yeah, dope.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, what else are you doing besides music? And you say you got real estate going on. It look like you have a lot of multiple, maybe streams of income. Not to be in your pocketbook, nothing like that, but just
because I'm all about. I'm all about people having a B plan and thinking about generational wealth and investing. And so I'm currently looking for a tenant, which I hate. So that's one thing. But then I have a whole renovation going on right now. I'm talking about like a full gut. So, and so it's just like I have an inspection tomorrow. Like, so I'm like constantly, moving around and what sink are we going to use? What tub are we going to use?
Yeah.
There's a leak in the basement. You got to put a valve on it, So my husband helps me with that too. But I'm all over the place. And it was tax time, but like I'm like really running a business, so that's it. And then a mom, and like, what are you doing this summer? We got to go to this open house for this program, so I got to do that. And then I was like, what are we eating tonight? We're eating out or I got to cook dinner. And, so, and then hip hop.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I juggle. I'm up. That's why I said past my bedtime. I usually am up at like 7 getting coffee.
That's cool. Well, maybe this comment can inspire you a little bit. This is from our good friend, the Professor Stephen Dunn. He says, "Thank you. I love your new album. I'm a 40-year-old dude, and it made me feel like a kid again who is full of creativity. I was stuck on some parts of a book I'm writing, and your album gave me some buoyancy I didn't know I needed."
I love it. Yeah, I love it. And that's why I wrote inspiration, I just be an inspiration to other people, Like I said, like even from a financial perspective, it's real estate, you know what I mean? So like, I didn't need to put an album out, so this was for the fans, and so if I could inspire them and, they can hear something and maybe it's an artist. Listen, I know I listen to dope artists and I'm like, oh, right now. Sometimes I gotta pull out my phone and like, because dope lyrics will inspire me to think of something. It might be the same thing, but in a different way, or it might inspire me to, say something else. So I literally, that's how I'll write a rhyme. Like I'll just type down all these different quotes and then I'll put them all together into a rhyme. So listen, if I didn't have music, I don't know if it would have inspired, certain. So if I can do that for up and coming artists or, anybody in any industry, I won. So
yeah. Totally. I love that. That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, before we go to celebrating some artists that you appreciate, Io Mas, Profan, any last questions you want to get in there?
Who did Identity Crisis? Because that joint's in my ear right now.
That's a dope joint.
He's
man.
You hear it in the studio, like the individual stems broken down. You'll even more. Like it's
it's banging.
Hey, for people out there that may not know Jay Zone's work, I really recommend you go check it out. He's got these hip hop albums that, for one, the beats are phenomenal. He's just a beat head. But there's some of the most hilarious albums. He's just got such a sense of humor, and they're just so fun to listen to. So I recommend you checking them out. Cool. Io Mas, anything?
Man, like I said, man, I got so I just want to pick her brain, man.
I know.
Like, we have Shortie No Mass on the show, man. Like I never in a million years thought I'd be having a conversation.
I know.
With Shortie No Mass, like yo,
like, Shortie No Mass still alive? I'm like, yeah, I'm right here. Yeah, I'm alive.
And man, I'm trying to pick one out the many that I have. So what would you say? First of all, like, what are you reading? Are you a reader? Would you consider yourself like a reader?
I literally just went to Barnes and Noble. My son asked me to take him to Barnes and Noble. So I bought this like dope ass book. It's the history of Frederick Douglass, and but it's pictures and stories, but it's very visual. So that's really good. And so I don't know if anyone has watched. I'm drawing a blank. The new show on HBO, The Gilded Age.
Oh no, I haven't even heard of that.
Okay, so here's the thing about The Gilded. I love period flicks anyway. Like I'm like a Downton Abbey, Bridgerton, right? All that.
Dope.
The Gilded Age is so dope because Sally Richardson is a producer, and they not only touch on white, like elite in the Rockefeller Vanderbilt era, but they touch on the Black elite in Brooklyn. Like Black family, and here's the piece of it too. Like I listen to the podcast that goes with it after every episode. They're based on real historical characters, like Black owned pharmacies, right? So you can look up the real history of. Like one of the scenes, the white girl who's like super rich and her family is like, you know, mega rich. She goes to the Black girl's house with like spare shoes that they had. And the maid of the Black house opens the door and it's like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have brought these shoes, you know, and the Black elite mother is like, oh, you thought we needed some shoes? You know, like, wow. So it really gets into like our perception of what Black people were back then. You know, it really gets into Black elite during that time. So the other book I bought was The Harlem Renaissance.
Okay.
So just really getting into Black wealth in
the
1900s.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Twist right
That's
now.
Amazing.
I suggest everyone watch it. I think people are like, these white rich people. No, like it's dope. Like they really touch on white and Black and the relationships and so much. Like it's really
what's the name of the show again? I gotta write this down. What's the name of the show?
HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, we just ended our HBO. I'm gonna have to get it again, bro. The Gilded Age. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
I'm about to renew that thing tonight. Thank you.
And you know, like I speak to like a lot of the Black historians who worked on it, and they said, you know, I was asked to be on it, and I was like, you know, I hope they do it right, you know. And they, you know, like the Black historians are like, I was so impressed that they really wanted to tell these stories. What mainstream media do they show?
Yeah.
The Black elite.
Yeah,
story,
exactly.
You know, and she's like, you know, historically speaking, you can't tell one story without telling the other. You know,
absolutely.
It's really, really dope. So I recommend it to everybody.
Super.
All right, and my last question. Sorry, my last question before we go to the next segment. Posdnuos is my favorite MC of all times, and people be like, "What?" Posdnuos are like, "Bro, just go back and listen." You know what I'm saying? So I want to know, because you had such a close relationship with Posdnuos, what is it that you learned from Posdnuos? Like as an MC, is there anything that you picked up from him, or any conversations that you had that was kind of like life changing that you could share with us?
Not so much as an MC, but just from like an artist standpoint, like, you know, we didn't have social media back then, right? And so I'm really into marketing and really like the personality traits of human beings and why they make, you know, consumer decisions. Some people will buy something they don't need just because of, you know, some internal, you know, thing. And I remember one day we were going to leave the house and Pos was dressed or something. And I don't know, he said something like, oh, should I wear this or should I wear that? And he just said, oh, it doesn't matter. He was like, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they'll still love it. You know what I mean? So he was basically saying like, you know, people make decisions like on popularity, which fast forward is social media. You know, if you have 18 million followers, you know, then you must be dope, you know? Well, they were daylight. So what they did was dope, you know, if you wore a trash bag out, then you'd see a whole bunch of people rocking a trash bag.
Exactly.
So that's one thing I was like, wow, like people, he's right. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter because, you know, people are going to be on it anyway, you know?
Yeah. Wow, that's so dope. That's dope.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Pos is also my favorite MC, but I don't know if he wore a trash bag. I'm not sure if I'd be wearing a trash bag. I
mean,
they in their eyes for bugging out.
Right, exactly.
Like, you had the leather medallions. You had the remember the little 555 soul with the, you know, it was like a sleeve, and you tied a string around over your head. You know, like.
All right.
A lot of
I'm wearing
a lot of my fashion came from Tribe and De La. You know what I'm saying? I remember going to a De La Soul concert and people what Dave had on and going to the store the next day trying to figure out what that was or what watch. Because he was a watch dude. Like Dave had watches, bro. Yeah. So I was like, man, what kind of watch is that? I'm saying, like, they basically set the trend for me as far as like dressing. Because it was stuff that was accessible. It wasn't like out of limits. You know, they just took ordinary, regular. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's what I loved about I'm sorry. I'm fanning out right now. I'm gonna be quiet.
I love it. It wasn't about like Gucci and Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They didn't. Yeah,
Nike and Reebok. And
exactly. It was accessible. It was accessible everyday gear, but they just freshed it up. Like they just did it their way. You know what I mean? Like Dave would come out with a hoodie, but his sleeve would be, you know, part of it would be on, and the other part you just see his t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like I just love the fact that they was just doing their own thing, and they was just like ordinary dudes doing extraordinary things. You know what I mean? So
wasn't it so refreshing too? Like I feel bad for this generation because it was just having fun. We had so much fun.
Exactly.
Now it's like getting high.
Everybody's serious. Yeah.
How many bitches can relax?
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's have some fun here. We'll transition to this segment, appreciating some artists that you appreciate. But before that, just wanted to shout out Ian Charles, who's a fan and who I think interviewed you for I think it's HBD Media, if I got the letters correct. Ian sounds familiar. Yeah, he's super cool. And he knows more about hip hop than anyone I've ever met. But he says, great having Shortie No Mass on Boom Bap Chat, solid, cohesive, and relevant new album. Also much respect to the beat miners, Jake Palomo, J Law, and J Zone. Your lyricism is always on point. I'm glad my vinyl arrived safe and sound from Vinyl Digital. So
thank you, Ian.
Yeah. So shout out to Ian. Ian's always putting us on with some really dope music. Appreciate you, Ian. So the final segment we do before our shout outs is we just basically want to appreciate some artists and have some fun. So I will throw up a name of an artist or a group on the screen, and your job is to take in the artist, breathe them in.
Okay.
And then try to summarize the feeling, the essence of this artist in one word or less. Okay?
One word or less. All right.
One word or less. Yeah. All right. Here we go. And I'll say it out loud for our podcast listeners. Okay. First artist is Biggie, the Notorious Big.
Flow. That's the first word that comes to mind.
Flow. Yeah. Yeah. He had incredible flow. Okay. Next one. Run the Jewels.
Conscious.
Conscious. Okay. I like that.
Shout out Killer Mike, man.
Killer Mike.
Like follow, if you want to follow someone's lead, Killer Mike is going to be good.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and I love it because that, and then on the music tip, like LP is like such an innovator and such a creative force, you know.
So dope. Like, definitely. I'm like, that Ooh La La remix.
Yeah, that was dope. All right, next one, A Tribe Called Quest. Take your time. Fun. Right on. And speaking of Tribe Called Quest, obviously, rest in power, rest in peace to Phife Dawg. Yes, I love that you put Phife Dawg at the beginning of your new album.
Yes.
It was only right? Everyone was asking for a new album, including him. So I had it. So I was like, how appropriate.
Yeah, that was dope. Props to you for doing that. All right, next one is Jay-Z.
Mogul.
Yep. All right, and the last
one is going to be all right.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, last. It's only right that we say this group for last. Last one, De La Soul.
Yeah. Family. I love that.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's fire, though.
Even when we fight.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Well, listen, Shortie No Mass. The last thing we do is it's a hip hop show, so we give shout outs. So we'll make our way around. We'll do our shout outs, and then we'll pass it off to you, and you can have the the final shout outs of the night. Sound good?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, toss it over to Profound. Who you want to shout out tonight, man?
Man, Shortie No Mass, we'll shout you out first. Thank you for coming through. Beautiful vibe, man. The album is dope. You were always dope, still dope. I'm glad you're still doing it. Glad you hustling. You on that way to be the mogul too. Shout out to the Profound Six. They better be in the bed. What's gonna be trouble? And shout out to my crew. You know, the Boom Bat Chat, Io, Till, Stowe, Bo, and man, that's it, man. Chicago, of course, as usual.
You already know.
Thanks, Pro. Io Moss.
Man, shout out Native Tongue, man. De La Soul, Shortie No Mass for being here. I really appreciate you being here, your insight, your wisdom.
Absolutely.
I hope we stay in tune. I hope this not like a one-time thing. I hope we like, you know what I'm saying, anytime you drop something or if you just want to come on, hope you come through. Shout out my Boom Bap Chat brothers. Shout out Chicago, Southside all day. And yeah, man, just this vibe tonight, man. Just the word that I like take away from tonight is just like just being yourself. It's cool to be yourself, and I feel like that's what Native Tongue represented.
Yeah.
So yeah, much respect to Shortie No Mass for real. And Philly. Boom, boom. Shout out Philly, man. North Philly, West Philly, South Philly, the whole Philly, yo. That's my city, bro. Shout out Philly all day.
Yeah, thanks, Io Moss. I want to shout out Io Moss's mom. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Hanging out. Shout out to all the families out there. You know, family's a good thing. Shout out to the entire Native Tongues, whether, you know, you're an extended member, an original member, don't know where you are in the mix. You know, if you're down making music with the crew at any time, shout out to you. I got all your albums upstairs. I love the Native Tongues. I love it all. So shout out to the Native Tongues. Shout out to Tone Spliff and Vic Monroe, yep, there it is, who are going to be our guests next Thursday. They have a super dope album out, so we're going to talk about that and more. And last but not least, and most importantly, Shortie No Mass, shout out to you. Obviously, thank you for, you know, taking the time to be with us tonight, but thank you, you know, for your presence and your, you know, contribution to this thing we love, and to, you know, giving the fans what we want, like listening and saying, I'm going to go ahead and give this to them. I appreciate that. I appreciate that there's more coming. So thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing some more of your talent and skills and yourself with the world. So thank you. And on that, we'll pass it to you for the final shout outs.
So my shout outs are to you guys for having me tonight. Shout out to everyone who tuned in, who cared. And shout out to just everybody who loves good music and, you know, just appreciates, you know, good music and wanted more from me. You know, I literally, this was because of them, you know, like honestly, I could have taken it or leave it, you know, so, but it has been such a fun ride, and it's been such a fun ride that I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go around the track another time, you know. So, but no, literally shout out to all the Shortie No Mass fans and all the people, the podcasters and the budding interviewers and writers and everybody, you know, just for, you know, taking the time to hear what I have to say. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's dope. And on that note, we say,
peace.
Peace, 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 peace.